The biggest flip-flop for Biden and for the Democrats has been the Me Too movement. The biggest attempt to sanitize their own narrative has been on sexual assault and Me Too. So you remember a few weeks ago, we played this accusation that has been made by a former Biden staffer against Joe Biden. There's new evidence out today to change that story, but here's the original accusation in case you forgot.
I was wearing a blouse and he just had me up against the wall and the wall was cold. And I remember it happened all at once. The gym bag, I don't know where it went. I handed it to him, it was gone. And then his hands were on me and underneath my clothes. And and then he went down my skirt, but then up inside it. And he penetrated me with his fingers, whatever. And he was kissing me at the same time, and he was saying something to me. He said several things, and I can't remember everything he said. I remember a couple of things. I remember him saying first, before, like as he was doing it, do you want to go somewhere else? And then him saying to me, when I pulled away, he got finished doing what he was doing, and I kind of was pulled back, and he said, come on, man, I heard you liked me.
Come on, man, I thought you liked me. Sure does sound like Joe Biden. You will remember when this accusation first came out a few weeks ago, I basically defended Joe Biden here. Because it sounds a little too much like Joe Biden, frankly. And we looked into this woman's story, Tara Reade. We saw how the story has changed over the years. We saw how convenient it is that the story is coming out now that Biden is running for president, but it didn't come out the last time he ran or the time before that. How initially she came out and said he was just sort of inappropriate with her, but then it came out and it was this actual sexual assault. So I don't want conservatives and Republicans to fall into the same trap and shallowness and hypocrisy that the Democrats did on Brett Kavanaugh. I want there to be due process. I want people to take a cold, hard look at the facts and not merely go with the politically convenient option here, right? Mind you, the allegation against Joe Biden is by definition much more credible than the allegation against Brett Kavanaugh, because the allegation against Joe Biden is coming from a former Biden staffer. Whereas in the case of Kavanaugh, when it comes to Christine Blasey Ford or certainly Julie Swetnick, there's no evidence these people ever knew Kavanaugh at all. Even Christine Blasey Ford, who was the star sexual assault witness for the Democrats, couldn't remember where the party took place, when the party took place, how many people were at the party. Her own close friend who was at the party said it didn't happen. It was decades and decades ago. Nobody ever heard anything about it. There were so many inconsistencies in her story. This allegation against Joe Biden, far more credible, and yet I still would say on the evidence we had a few weeks ago, not the death knell in his coffin, not the end of his campaign. However, there is new information out there. I try to be very fair, even to Democrats who are accused, even when it's politically advantageous. This woman makes this allegation. Well, we need some evidence. She gave us evidence in the form of a clip on Larry King's old television show. So, very odd. There is a clip of a woman calling in to Larry King's old CNN show in 1993, in August of 1993, saying that her daughter just had this incident with a senior member of the Senate and was sort of pushed out because of it, and she doesn't know how to respond. The phone call came in from San Luis Obispo, which is the town that Tara Reade's mother was living in at the time. It came in within days of her departure from the Biden Senate staff. Here's the phone call.
We're back. A couple more phone calls on this very important topic. Our guests are former United States Senator Howard Baker, Richard Allen, former National Security Advisor, and Lois Romano of the Washington Post. San Luis Obispo, California. Hello.
Yes, hello. I'm wondering what a staffer would do besides go to the press in Washington. My daughter has just left there after working for a prominent senator and could not get through with her problems at all. And the only thing she could have done was go to the press, and she chose not to do it out of respect for him.
Or she had a story to tell, but out of respect for the person she worked for, she didn't tell it.
That's true.
Now, but these are the people who do come to the Lois Romanos, right? The staff worker who says, I want to let you know about what's going on, either with my boss or the guy down the hall.
And a lot of these people have a sense of obligation. They feel that this public official should be accountable if it's something
They're
wrong.
whistleblowers to the press.
Exactly.
This is a very interesting piece of evidence because nowhere in there does she say, my name is Mrs. Reed. Nowhere in there does she say, the senator is Joe Biden. We don't know that it's this woman's mother, though Tara Reid has come out and said, this is my mother on the recording. And the timing matches up and the location matches up. Where they found this, I have no idea. Where they found this Larry King clip. I have a few hunches, and we'll get to that in a second, but I don't know for sure. Still, we should not fall into the Brett Kavanaugh Democrat hack trap of saying Joe Biden is definitely guilty. What we should do, very simple, hold the Democrats to their own standards. You know, if the left didn't have double standards, they'd have no standards at all. We should hold them to their own standards. We should see them hoisted by their own petard. They say believe all women, but they don't believe all women. They don't believe the women staff members of their own senior officials, of their own Democratic presidential nominee. They won't take this seriously. A lot more evidence here than they ever had against Republicans, and they still won't take it seriously. So we should demand that this woman gets a fair hearing in the same way that Christine Blasey Ford got a fair hearing, in the same way that Julie Swetnick, for goodness sakes, who wasn't credible at all, got a fair hearing. And Joe Biden should get a fairer hearing than Brett Kavanaugh had. It's probably not going to go very well for him. Where did this clip come from? Some people are saying it came from the right, came from conservatives, came from the Trump team to try to damage their candidate. I'm not so sure about that. Why would the Trump team, why would the conservatives release this kind of footage right now? If they were sitting on this kind of Oppo research, why would they wait to release it right now when they could wait another 4 or 5 months and release it just before the general election, when it's too late, after the DNC, when Joe Biden's already wrapped up the nomination, and then it's too late to throw him overboard? Why wouldn't they wait? Seems to me much more likely that this evidence, this allegation, is coming from the left, because they know that Joe Biden is too weak to beat Trump in November. Look, right now we've got something like 20% unemployment. President Trump should be losing by triple digits. It should be like 0 to 100 against the Democratic candidate, and yet he's not. His approval ratings are doing just fine because Joe Biden, while he's taking his little breather at home, is decaying. He's getting even worse sitting in his own living room. He doesn't seem up to the job. He can't remember his own name. And Democrats are freaking out. I felt they were freaking out even during the impeachment hearings. That was what Senator Cruz, when we were doing our show Verdict, said. He thought that the Democrats lost confidence in Joe Biden, and that's why they were willing to allow certain allegations against Hunter Biden to come out. They were willing to throw Joe over the bus. I think that's clearer now. There is still time for the Democrats to replace Joe at the top of their ticket. And so I think they are the ones using as much ammunition as they possibly can to get him out of there and have him replaced by a better candidate. If it were the conservatives doing it, I think they would have waited on this until a little later. I think it would have been the Access Hollywood tape, right, for President Trump, where they're holding this great piece of dirt on him, and they're going to release it at the very end of the campaign, of the general election campaign. Thank you for tuning into the Daily Wire, one of the fastest growing conservative media outlets in the country. If you enjoyed this video, and really, even if you didn't, please be sure to give it a like and subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you don't miss out on any of our content.